man.
Just pull.
Sasha just pulled her shirt. The duct tape let go. All the eggs come out at once. Hundreds of eggs are now lying in the street.
And that is just a small sample of the carnage. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. 2 weeks ago, the annual Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride took place. I was there. In fact, I was there at the beginning. The whole thing was my idea. 31 years ago. Imagine riding a snowmobile with your snowsuit crammed with hundreds of raw eggs. It's been 3 decades since the ride first happened, and until this show, the only way you could ever witness the absolute mess was to be there in person and watch it for yourself. For the first time, we'll try to capture the whole thing on air. It won't be easy. This is a chaotic event. But when the dust clears and the yolks are washed from the sleds, thousands of dollars will have been raised for the Pine Tree Camp for children and adults with disabilities. Also coming up on today's show, the Penobscot Fly Fishers stage their 12th annual Cabin Fever Reliever next weekend. We'll give you a sneak preview. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, Doors Equipment, and EBS. It was 31 years ago that I had an idea. It was simultaneously the best and worst idea I ever had. At the time, I was working for a radio station that is now just one studio over from this one. That radio station was, and is, Q106.5. Altogether, I spent 17 years in that country music station, and for each of those 17 years, there was one event that dominated the station calendar. The Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride. The Pine Tree Camp is in Rome, Maine. It serves children and adults with disabilities. It gives Maine children who have serious disabilities a chance to do things that other kids get to do. Swim, fish, boat, eat s'mores around a campfire, get mad at a camp counselor for waking up too early. Now, at that time, there had already been a long tradition of snowmobilers and snowmobile clubs getting together one weekend in winter to pool their donations, supporting the camp. 31 years ago, when the radio station was just a few weeks old, we were invited to help out. Well, I can't tolerate boring radio. So rather than just ride along with the other snowmobiles, I pondered what we could do that would be more exciting and involve the listening audience. I had no idea that eggs would key an event that has grown bigger than I ever imagined. Here's the way it works. The radio station announcers and a few other celebrities get roped into riding. Listeners pledge money to the camp, and for every $50 raised, another raw egg gets placed in their snowsuits for a ride from the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club in Levant to the Recreation Center in Newport on the shores of Sebasticook Lake. In its first year, the celebrities carried about 8 raw eggs in their pockets, and frankly, it wasn't very messy. But today's riders carry hundreds of eggs. The carnage is epic. With that much weight, the eggs crush themselves. And for any that don't break, let's just say the spectators are apt to slap backs and pat bellies until everything is an oozing mass of yolk and shell. It's not pretty, and it sure isn't comfortable.
It's daybreak. I'm at the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club. This is where it's all going to start in just about an hour. It's 4 below zero. Whose idea was this?
This year's egg ride happened 2 weeks ago, and I was there. As today's show starts, I've just arrived at the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club in Levant.
Morning, how are you? Hey, good to see you, good to see you. Sorry, my hands are cold.
Now, if you ever want to see this egg ride carnage for yourself, there's one important thing to remember. Get there early enough for breakfast. I mean, just about every snowmobile club knows how to cook, but these guys really whip up a feast.
Oh, man.
1 or 2?
Oh, just one. Gaining my usual winter weight.
There you go. We're just a little bit opposite than the Bay as we don't go to sleep. More of these or that?
No, that's good. That's good potatoes.
Eggs?
Yep. Good.
How about beans?
Beans, gotta have beans.
Yeah. I know.
Every year, different celebrities get roped into doing the egg ride, but the one constant is that some of the radio personalities have to do it. I've done it about 20 times. Cindy Campbell has done it closer to 30. Scott Miller has been hosting the station's morning show for just over a year, and this will be his second ride. One big thing that has changed in 31 years, technology. When I first started this event, cell phones hadn't even been invented yet. If you wanted to do a remote broadcast, you'd have to whip out a big, boxy UHF radio unit, erect an antenna, and hope you could shoot a signal far enough to be picked up back at the studio. Nowadays, Scott Miller just whips out the smartphone. Feel free to eavesdrop.
Q106.5. I guess I'll be the one to start. Good Saturday morning. It's the Q106.5 Egg Ride. I'm Scott Miller along with Cindy Campbell. Morning, Cindy.
Good morning. It's a little chilly out here.
As I was just told, it is 6 below, and I was also told that my hat's not cutting it in this weather.
Well, it doesn't cover your ears, so what's the point, is my question.
It can if I pull it down. My ears don't necessarily get cold. It's just the, ever since the hair is gone, I get a little chilly on the top. Anyway, enough of the hair. Egg Ride Day. So the guy who said the hat is standing right here. Bob Duchesne is here.
Well, hi, everybody.
Morning, Bob. How you doing?
I always like to come visit what I created 30 years?
31 now.
31 years ago. Boy, I'm a lot older.
Now, what were you thinking when it's like, let's stuff eggs in a snowmobile suit and ride? What was that? Why? How did that come to your mind?
Clearly, I was not thinking. It just, I didn't realize it'd get this big. I thought we'd just do a few eggs, we'd have a little fun, and that'd be it. I never imagined we'd take so many eggs on so many sleds.
But I guess when you look back 31 years, in those days, radio promotions, you did so silly things. Every week was something like, what are they doing now?
Yeah, when I think back on all the insane things I did, this one still comes to the top.
Yeah, it is, and it is amazing what is happening. You know what? We got to thank you, man, because what happens, Bob, is everybody is so into this every year.
Yeah.
People come from far and wide to contribute for, of course, the reason, the Pine Tree Camp donations, which is really wonderful.
Well, the fact is, you guys deserve all the credit because I left 13 years ago.
Well,
and it's still going.
No, it really is. And Cindy and I talked about this on the air. It's fun for us. What we do is just fun. We're just having fun, So what the Q listeners do, and they step up, and that's the real fun thing.
That's I think it. The listeners have always been just one big Q family. So when we do something, everybody jumps in.
Right.
And I think that's what makes this event maybe different than what you see elsewhere.
Right.
Right.
Now, Bob, I have a question, kind of a personal question. 31 years ago, how come I look so much older than you? And you were the guy who started.
You should have seen me when I looked like a baby about 31 years ago.
All right, Cindy, it's your turn.
Coming up, we'll meet some more victims and ask how all this mess gets cleaned up afterwards. We're getting an earful of one of the weirdest annual events in Maine, combining snowmobiles and raw eggs. More on the Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride is straight ahead. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. It's Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Today we're revisiting an event I created 31 years ago on a different radio station that's actually right next door to this one of 5 radio stations controlled out of this building on Acme Road in Brewer. On January 20th, 1986, a country station named Q106.5 signed on the air, and the first song I played was Kenny Rogers, The Gambler. Well, within just a few weeks, the station made its first snowmobile ride to benefit the Pine Tree Camp for children and adults with disabilities. And they've been doing it ever since, conducting an egg ride on the first Saturday of February. The concept is simple enough. Listeners pledge money to the Pine Tree Camp, and for every $50 raised, celebrity riders must place a raw egg in their snowsuits for a ride to Newport. When it started out, riders only had to worry about a few eggs. Today, the riders get stuffed with hundreds of eggs. There are 10 boxes of eggs sitting right here, waiting to be loaded onto the victims. Way more than 1,000 eggs. We have an unusual set of victims this year. In the past, victims have included TV stars, congressmen, a lot of game wardens, that's a long story, beauty pageant winners, we've got one this year. But this is the first year actual radio listeners got roped into it. The station invited listeners to enter a contest for a chance to ride, and Sasha Tracy won. So, how did you get into this egg ride?
I donated every year, and then I heard Cindy and Scott talk about doing a letter, and then they would draw, and evidently my name came out.
So you donate every year. Had you actually come to see how this worked before?
I have.
Okay,
I've seen them do it, and I've dropped some eggs in the suits too, but now it's my turn.
So you have only yourself to blame.
Yes, only myself, and I donated, and I collected money from my work, and we donated a little over, it was like $125 that we donated. So.
And where do you work?
Heart Transportation in Bangor.
Okay, so you've seen how it works before. How do you think this is going to feel now that you've loaded eggs before but never been on the receiving end?
Probably yucky, and they'll probably be frozen by the end of it.
You'd be surprised. They'd never freeze until they leak out of your suit.
Yes.
You're warm enough to keep them from freezing, no matter how many they stuff in there. Do you have any idea how many eggs they're going to put in you yet?
I don't.
No, I don't know.
A lot.
It's a ton. And wait till you see how much it all weighs. Well, good luck.
Yes, thank you.
The Pine Tree Camp is located on North Pond in Rome, Maine. It looks like a normal camp, but it's filled with equipment and staff that enable children with disabilities to have a normal camp experience. The camp has been around a long time, since 1945, a time when polio was the cause of many disabilities. Nowadays, kids with disabilities can swim, fish, kayak, hike, boat, and camp without the barriers that would normally get in their way. It builds self-esteem and self-confidence. It's a life-changing experience for these kids. It's no wonder the camp is so strongly supported by Mainers. We are inside the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club, where the snowsuits have just been delivered that will be worn by the Egg Riders. Dawn Robinson is camp director. She brought the suits, and it'll be her job to clean them up afterwards. Now, where do you get the suits from?
We had them donated several years ago, so we just keep them at camp, and we clean them up every year and bring them back.
So you already know what's going to happen to these suits. This isn't going to come as a surprise.
No, not at all. We're all ready for it.
Explain to me the cleaning up process, because these things get absolutely drenched with egg.
They do, and then we bring them to a dry cleaner, and they get them all cleaned up for us, and they're fine afterwards.
Really?
So I'm surprised.
See, I have in my basement a Yamaha jacket, ski jacket, from probably year number 5, and we're up to 31 now.
Yes.
And it is still caked with egg. I never did get it off.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, we usually bring them right in, and they take care of it. And they look fine after that. So even the boots. So.
Do you only use them this one time a year?
Only one time a year.
So these could go another 30 years.
Yeah, definitely. We've started to do some winter programming at camp, so who knows, if someone came to camp and didn't have warm enough clothes, we would be able to use some of that too. But for the most part, it's just for the ride-in. So.
Well, good luck with the cleaning afterwards.
Excellent.
We'll try to make them as messy as possible today.
Sounds good.
In 31 years, the Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride has had a lot of celebrity riders. John Baldacci did it twice when he was a congressman. He went on to become a 2-term governor soon afterwards. One of those years, local pageant winner Mei Ling Lam rode in the back of John's sled. She went on to become the first Playboy centerfold from Maine. We often get TV personalities, especially weathermen. Todd Simcox from Channel 5 has done it multiple times. Outdoor columnist John Holyoke from the Bangor Daily News has been roped into it before. This year, Sarah Nason joined the fun.
So Sarah, you're Miss Penobscot?
I am Miss Penobscot Valley 2017.
I got to tell you, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, it's a preliminary pageant for the Miss Maine system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So does every county get one, or is it named after the river, or what?
It's out of the county. Yeah, there's Miss Central Maine as well, and yeah.
Okay. So how did you get roped into doing this?
I started pageantry about 4 years ago. My mom competed when she was little, so I just wanted to follow her footsteps and did a pageant.
And how did you get roped into doing the egg ride?
Yes,
because that's crazy.
It is. I actually applied online and was the chosen listener.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever seen them do this before?
I have not.
So you have no idea what you're getting into.
I don't. I'm sure it will be great, though.
No, it won't. That's what I'm wondering.
Messy.
It is, and heavy.
Yes.
And uncomfortable. Are you ready for that?
I am.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hopefully they keep me a little warm. Insulation.
It's actually true. They do not get cold on you.
Perfect.
Even when they leak down into your pants, which, by the way, they will, they don't get cold.
All right.
It's the gooey process afterwards when you're taking this all out of your shirt. That's the part that gets a little...
That's the messy part.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the previous years, you'll find that it just, as soon as you get on the sled and they start to load the eggs, they're all going to crush.
Yep.
And you're not even going to leave the parking lot before you're over leaking.
Right. I was worried about falling on my face and breaking them all on my belly.
That also happens.
Yes.
Did they make you sign a waiver?
They have not yet, no.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Yes, thank you.
So the first part of the Q106.5 Egg Ride is the breakfast, and the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club puts on a fabulous feed. The second part is just total chaos. In fact, that's the key ingredient to every egg ride is chaos. Without the chaos, this wouldn't be nearly as funny. What they've done is bring in bags of snowsuits that have been used in years previous. These all go through intensive washing afterwards. They get bagged up and get brought out a year later, so they only get used once a year. And everyone has to sort through these to find a size that fits them. And in the case of the morning show host on Q106.5, Scott Miller, he's a large gentleman, probably, by my estimate, 6'2". He probably played linebacker for the Patriots in his younger days. Finding a snowsuit that fits him, that still leaves room enough to put hundreds of eggs down the front, is close to impossible. I don't know there's enough X's in front of that L to accomplish this, but this snowsuit has to be big in order for him to fit it, and I don't think he's going to. I once did a radio ticket line party in January where I actually got frostbite in one of my toes. I was out there all morning at 5 below zero, and at the end of the day, I take my boot off and my toe is white.
What you're hearing took place 2 weeks ago, the Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride, an event where radio personalities, area celebrities, and a couple of conscripted listeners have to ride snowmobiles from the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club in Levant down to the rec center in Newport. In winters with lots of snow, they do it through the backwoods and fields along trails that can be notoriously bumpy, bad for the eggs. In winters with no snow, they are not off the hook. The sleds go on flatbeds, and everyone rides them anyway, with a caravan of Maine game wardens leading the way. Coming up, it's time to load the eggs, and it's every bit as messy as you might think. Plus, crews from Channel 2, 5, and 7 are here. I'll reveal on camera exactly how this whole idea came about. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8 on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Except for this weekend and next. It's high school basketball tournament time, so the Saturday shows are bumped to 8 a.m. so that live basketball coverage can start at 9. Today's episode actually happened 2 weeks ago, the Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride, an annual event that has radio and community celebrities stuffing hundreds of eggs into their snowsuits for a snowmobile ride to Newport. Yeah, it's a mess. But it's more than that. It's heavy. Hundreds of eggs are heavy. It's hard to stand up heavy. So heavy that without additional precautions, all those eggs would eventually push their way out of the bottom of the snow jackets. And we can't have that happening.
Step number 3. They have to duct tape the jackets and shirts in order to keep the eggs from just falling out the bottom. You tuck them down the top, they'll just fall right out the bottom, so we actually have to take the extra step of winding duct tape around everybody's waist to seal in the eggs into the jackets and shirts. You do this 31 years, you figure out what mistakes are. This is my idea 31 years ago. Both the best and dumbest idea simultaneously I ever had.
Okay, this idea. Everyone wants to know where the idea came from. Riding snowmobiles with eggs, hundreds of eggs. When I first thought about it, I had no idea whether it would even work. Eggs can be tougher than you think. So I actually tested it out. I put several eggs in a plastic bag and stuffed them in my jacket. Then I went ice skating around Davis Pond in Eddington. This is years ago. When I finished up, I found that the eggs really didn't get jostled that badly. It's only when you start putting lots of eggs in your pockets that things start to go bad. That led to some rules. The eggs, of course, have to be raw, not hard-boiled, obviously. And more importantly, nobody gets to use plastic or anything protective. Every raw egg just gets dumped down the collar of the jacket. If there are too many eggs to fit, too bad. Jam them in anyway. But as for the actual idea, that's what the TV crews wanted to know.
All right, so just, I guess, for the record, can you say and spell your first and last name?
Yes, I'm Bob Duchesne. Duchesne is D-U-C-H-E-S-N-E.
All right, and your title?
I'm... Woo! I don't have one. I'm a state representative in the legislature. I worked 17 years on Q106.5, and I founded the event.
All right.
So that'll be titled enough.
Yeah, we'll have to pick one good one, I guess, to fit in that spot. But anyways, so my question was earlier, why the eggs? Where did that come from?
It's a strange origin to this, I have to admit. The idea originally came to me over the Kenduskeag Extreme Canoe Race. It was 1986, and we were trying to figure out what fun could we have. And I was saying, what if we threw some odd things in the canoe and had to get them all downriver intact? Well, that never happened. But the following winter comes around, and we stumble onto the Pine Tree Camp ride that all the snowmobile clubs were doing, and eggs popped into my head one morning. I said, what if we put eggs in our snowshoes for that ride? How would that go? 31 years later, it's still going on.
And now, are you going to be participating in the actual event, or will you be putting eggs on you?
No, not this time around. I'm merely here to see my own handiwork.
All right, so you get to, you don't have to deal with that today. But have you in the past?
Yes, many times.
And how does that feel?
I think what surprises most people is how heavy it really is. That's a lot of eggs. You know, hundreds and hundreds of eggs. You don't realize until you try to stand up how heavy that is. Once you're on the sled, you're not going to move.
According to the schedule, the celebrities were supposed to start egging up at around 9 a.m., but it's now 9:30, and they're finally getting started. All 5 riders have gathered in the parking lot as the cartons come out, and in my opinion, they're already making a big mistake.
The eggs are coming out of the truck. 8 cartons so far. Each one's a gross. And I mean that in the grossest possible sense. They're going to do all the egging right in front of the clubhouse, which frankly I think is a mistake. Normally, I find it's better to sit on the sled because once you egg up, it's going to be hard to move. But they're going to do it in the parking lot. They don't know this is dumb, and I'm not going to tell them. In they go. You can actually hear the eggs click as they go in.
That's the eggs cracking. Get cracking. I love how you throw them in. That's really...
No gentle at all there.
That's really nice.
Just to make sure they're
Yeah, you got to make sure they get in.
Yeah, just a precaution. Just to make sure they get in.
I just wanted to know, when are we doing the bathroom break before we leave? Is that coming up?
I hope you have dependable undergarments.
I was told to layer up, and that I did.
Yes, that's another hazard the riders don't even think about until it's too late. Once you've donned all the gear, once duct tape has been wrapped around and around the bottom of the jacket to hold the eggs in, once hundreds of eggs have settled into your shirt, there is absolutely no way to go to the bathroom until you've covered the whole distance from Levant to Newport, gotten unegged, undressed, and inside. Meanwhile, the 5 riders are getting eggs dumped down their shirts. Game warden Chris Simmons is being nasty. Some of the people loading eggs are doing it gently, dropping them carefully down the neckline of the jackets. But Chris is loading up Sasha Tracy, the radio listener who won the chance to go on this ride. Chris is not placing the eggs carefully. Chris is tipping the whole tray down her shirt all at once. A torrent of egg yolk is already flowing from under the jacket and down Sasha's pants onto her boots. She is already way messier than all the other riders combined.
Sarah, you'll find for the first crate of eggs, they'll put them in real gentle.
Right.
And then about the second half, they just start throwing them in.
Yeah, you have to.
They get tired.
They get bored, they just start, it's taking too long, they start throwing them down.
I know, it sounds like they are. I don't think they are.
Oh, trust me, they are.
Not yet.
Small little crack.
Yeah, they're little cracks at first. You know what really breaks the eggs? It's the weight.
Yeah.
The ones on top break
That
the ones
just
on the bottom.
Yeah. All right, get some more, Alan.
2 other riders we haven't actually mentioned yet. Eric Owens, another of the Q106.5 announcers, and 9-year-old Jared, Sasha's nephew, I think.
All right.
Everybody is getting egged, and it's getting messy.
This fun?
Good times. Sorry, I don't to.
Oh, you're fine.
Get too friendly.
I don't know if you realize this, Sasha, but they're treating you differently. Nobody else is leaking like you are.
Don't have as many.
Well, whoever's loading you on is just throwing them down. They're dumping them down by the carton full.
So much
Leave it to the game wardens.
Good for one more? Good for one more.
Now hold it open real big so we can pour them in.
Yeah, and then it'll be to my neck.
Oh, man. That's just so wrong.
You're not almost maxed out. Oh, jeez. Oh, they're already broken.
The bottom eggs are...
That's mean. All right.
Well, Eric, you're leaking pretty badly.
Really? I can't see down there. I can't see my feet. Oh, there they are.
You can see your feet getting wet, though, right? Sarah, they're still being gentle with you.
Yes, I'm not leaking yet.
No, not like that.
Wow, see, they're like hardy.
There you go.
That was unkind.
I wanted you to have some of eggs, but
That's okay. Thank you.
Two more. Woo!
Just pull the collar away. You can put in more.
there you go.
There you go.
Let's go.
All right, done. Done.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Eventually, everyone is loaded with eggs. Remember when I said it was a mistake to load them while everyone was standing in the parking lot rather than sitting on the sleds? It took 3 people to get Scott Miller up onto his sled. 2 pulling, 1 pushing. 9-year-old Jared is in trouble. The duct tape is slipping and the eggs are already forcing their way out. It won't be long before they're all over his sled. It is time to remember why we're doing this. This one weekend is critical to the fundraising that supports the Pine Tree Camp for Children with Disabilities.
So what's your name and title?
My name is Tyler Carey, and I'm the development officer for Pine Tree Society.
So it sounds like a development officer is in charge of the money.
Yeah, fundraising, yes, exactly.
Well, you're the guy I want to talk to then for sure.
Nice.
Because you got to describe to me, what is this money really going towards?
Well, one of the great things about Pine Tree Camp that's been in place since we opened in 1945 is that we've never turned a camper away due to their inability to pay tuition, which right now is $1,900. It's a lot of money for many families. So we have an open door policy. We've never turned someone away for that reason. We welcome everyone who can benefit from the experience. And so to make sure we keep that in place every year, Pine Tree Society raises around $1 million to operate Pine Tree Camp at a level that really keeps it, a high level of service. And this event is a huge part of that initiative. We plan to raise around $100,000 here through the weekend events. And
so 1/10 of all of your fundraising for the year happens right now.
yeah, exactly.
And what it represents is the community coming together to support the camp. This is all local people raising local money to support a local camp.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's it makes a lot of sense because, we have a lot of campers that live in the Bangor, the Newport communities. So it's really nice to see people coming out to have a direct impact on their neighbors, their friends. So really heartwarming for sure.
Yeah. So how much planning goes into the event? You start
a lot.
As soon as you finish one year, you start thinking about the next?
Almost, yeah. There's a dedicated committee of ride-in volunteers that meet once a month starting in September to plan the event. We have incredible support of our sponsors. The biggest, Duchesne is the title sponsor of the whole ride-in. They do a lot of fundraising events leading up to the weekend, so there's quite a bit that goes into it and a lot of people that are involved.
Yeah. I have to observe they're already up there throwing eggs at each other.
Yeah, they're having a good time.
Speaking of eggs, where do the eggs come from?
The eggs come from Davis Egg Farm, which is a local farm, and that they've been providing them for many years.
And a lot of people in the past have said, oh, you're wasting food, but in reality, these were not necessarily going to market.
Yeah, these are not, I guess, what are considered grade A for the market.
Yeah.
So in a sense, they wouldn't have been sold anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're perfectly good eggs.
They're perfectly good eggs, and until about an hour from now, they won't be.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be on the ground, and they'll be...
now they're going to be good for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be scooped off the ground and into a bucket.
Yes, yes.
And with that, we send the riders on their way. Everyone is already leaking badly, and they're not even out of the parking lot. Game wardens are leading the way, blue lights flashing a warning to anyone ahead. It's going to take an hour for them to get to Newport, but it's only going to take you 3 minutes. I will meet you there, and you can be an ear witness to the mayhem of removing all those eggs from the jackets. Those that are left, anyway. We're at the Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9. The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Today's show features an event that happened 2 weeks ago, the Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride. It's an event that I started 31 years ago while on a different radio station, Q106.5. They're still doing it. And at this point of the show, all the festivities in Levant, the Hungry Hollow 76ers Snowmobile Club, have been concluded. The fantastic breakfast, the egging of the celebrities, and the departure on snowmobiles bound for Newport. We are now in Newport, awaiting the arrival of the egg ride. If you thought the riders were messy when they left Levant, you should see them now. And here they come. Game wardens in the lead. They've been leading the security the whole way with the flashing blue lights, and here comes the trailers. There's 3 survivors.
They're all frozen.
Oh, Sasha, you're a mess.
I am. I'm frozen. They're all frozen in there.
Are you cold?
Not too bad.
Are you icky?
It's icky.
So, how was it?
It was fun.
Was it? Would you ever do it again?
Yes. Hopefully on trails next time.
Yeah. Is there anything about it that surprised you?
Just the amount of eggs and how heavy it really is.
Isn't it just
and they're
amazing?
Frozen.
Yeah. Yeah, once it leaks to the outside, they freeze. When they stay in the pockets, they're good.
Yes.
So, Jerry, what'd you think?
It's good.
It looks like you lost most of your eggs.
Yep.
Do they all fall out, or they all crush and just run down your pant legs?
They fell out.
They fell out?
When he was trying to get up, the duct tape didn't tape too good.
Yeah, I thought so. As I was watching you walk towards the sled, I'm thinking to myself, that tape is going to slip, and you're going to dump them. Well, congratulations on a good ride, buddy. So, Sarah, can we make a talent competition out of this, do you think?
I think so. They're all frozen now, so I feel like a scrambled egg.
So what was your impression having done this for the first time without ever actually seeing it happen?
Yeah, it's interesting. I figured a lot more would break, but I think we're going to do that in a few minutes.
That's likely, because whatever doesn't break during the ride often breaks afterwards.
That's right.
I mean, you still have to get off the sled and dismount.
Yes.
Everyone is a mess. Remember, we have 5 riders this year. 2 are radio personalities, Scott Miller and Eric Owens. 2 are radio listeners who won the chance to go along, Sasha and 9-year-old Jared. And 1, Sarah Nason, is the reigning Miss Penobscot Valley and a contestant for Miss Maine. For the next several minutes, everybody has to dismount from the sleds, which are up on flatbeds. This is harder than it sounds because everyone is still heavy with the eggs and there's yolk all over the place, making it slippery. Once down, there's a group photo, which really doesn't do justice. A group movie. We show torrents of egg yolk pouring out of everyone's snowmobile jackets. There is a puddle of yellow around everyone. A few eggs are intact, and those are ammunition if any of the spectators turn their backs. As soon as the group photo is done, all the riders face each other and group hug.
Ready?
Oh, they're going to smash together. Oh, man.
Here it goes. Ready? Here it goes. All right.
Everybody crushes together. And down goes Eric. Announcer on Q106.5 staff goes to the ground on his belly. All the eggs smashed. Hundreds of eggs are now crushed.
Swing now.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Oh, man.
Just pull.
Sasha just pulled her shirt. The duct tape let go. All the eggs come out at once. Hundreds of eggs are now lying in the street.
Oh, look.
Oh, the humanity.
Did not break.
Let's stop it right there. You can hear a lot of clicking noises. Those are eggs hitting the ground. Hundreds of eggs. Every time one of the riders opens up a jacket, whole, smashed, and half-smashed eggs tumble out. So many eggs that they are piling up around the riders.
Okay, now let's get the white ones out.
You put them in there color-coded?
They did. They did. Oh, that was great.
And I have frozen eggs inside.
All the splattering you hear is the eggs being dumped to the ground. Most are broken, some aren't. So anything that didn't leak into their boots is now puddled in the street.
Come along and eat.
You know, the easy way to get those off so they don't come up over your
There he
head
is. There he is.
is I can cut it off.
Let's do it.
They're cutting the duct tape, free the shirts, and the remaining eggs. These are special Q106.5 t-shirts, and they're just ripping them up, cutting them open, slashing their way free.
Yeah, I don't think we got this messy last year. I honestly don't.
Oh, I think you did.
Really? The feeling of the suit is not...
You may not have gotten messy, but everybody else did last year.
All right.
Now the fire department's going to come along with a truck and they're just going to hose you off out here.
All right.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
We'll end it there. Everyone's going to go clean up a little and head inside for awards, rewards, and food. The Pine Tree Camp Egg Ride happens again next year, first weekend of February, God willing. This may be something you want to see for yourself. Coming up, something else you may want to see for yourself. The Penobscot Fly Fishers are putting on their 12th annual Cabin Fever Reliever next weekend. Details next as Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine continues on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. The Penobscot Fly Fishers are set to present an event called the Cabin Fever Reliever next weekend. What it is, where it is, and why it is, I leave it all up to Paul Markson, Publicity Chair for the club. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
Sure. The Penobscot Fly Fishers have a Cabin Fever Reliever coming up next weekend, which I believe is now your 12th annual?
It is indeed. It's our 12th annual at Brewer. Yes.
Well, by now you should have the hang of it.
Oh yeah. We've gone through a few chairmen here or there, but we've pretty much got it. We got it nailed.
I think what's most impressive is you filled up the event before any deadlines. Essentially, everybody I think who could possibly be fit in there as an exhibitor is in.
Everyone is in, and actually we've had to turn a few folks away, a few latecomers. So it is jam packed.
Well, why don't you just describe to me what it is first, and then we'll talk about who's in it.
Well, the Cabin Fever Reliever is a outdoors-based exposition or show. But the key feature compared to other larger outdoor shows, we're not trying to sell you something. What we want to do is turn you on to opportunities in the Great Maine outdoors. Mm-hmm. It is geared towards families. It is free. So it's obviously, no admission to get in.
We can repeat that again. It's free.
It is free. There's free admission, absolutely. And the idea is to get folks, late winter, folks want to get out, start thinking about opportunities in the Maine outdoors. So we have everyone from fly fishing, hunting, fly tying. We have the folks from the Allagash Wilderness Waterway coming down. We have some wildlife artists. We have things set aside for young folks. We have an air rifle range, youth archery, youth fly tying. Again, all free.
And again, it's very family oriented.
It is. It is geared towards exactly for families. Again, unlike some larger outdoor shows where you pay an admission and get in, and then it's full of folks from Labrador trying to get you to catch a big fish or shoot a bear.
Yeah.
But we want folks to come in for free and just find out what there is to do in Maine in the outdoors.
So you won't have anybody there trying to sell me a fishing trip to Lake Ontario?
No, absolutely not. We will have some people there maybe trying to sell you some flies. The fun part is they're tying the flies right there in front of you and whatnot. So
Okay.
I won't say it's completely non-commercial, but it is geared towards, again, giving information away rather than trying to sell you material things.
Well, can you give me some idea who your major exhibitors are, names I would recognize?
Sure. Maine Audubon is always there. The Maine Atlantic Salmon Museum. We're going to have wardens there from the Inland Fish and Wildlife. Horrenda Wildlife Refuge always has a great table and set up there. We have some snowmobile clubs. We have, let's see, where's my list here? We have Ducks Unlimited will have a table there. We have the Department of, again, Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Casting for Recovery, a great group of fly fishing enthusiasts that help women through cancer, breast cancer. I think I mentioned already the Allagash Inland Wilderness Waterway. Great Pond Mountain Trust, which is that great open land area down in Orland and that area, Bucksport.
Now, you actually have some programs and lecturers coming, too.
We do. We have six speakers this year. First one we have is Randy Spencer. He is a fairly well-known outdoor guide. He's an author. He's a musician. He's from Grand Lake Stream. And his day job is guiding fishing trips up in the Grand Lake Stream area. His night job is, again, he's a musician. He sings some great folksy songs. He's written several good books. Very interesting guy, quite a character.
Well, you've got to be a character because musicians stay up all night. Fishermen get up early. When does he sleep?
Yeah, that's a job I couldn't do the second part.
That's nuts.
You're talking to a guy who's in his pajamas at 9 o'clock every night. So. And secondly, we have Matt Laroche. He's the superintendent of the Allagash Wilderness Waterway, which you've all heard about. And this year he's going to be one of our speakers. So he's not only going to set up a booth, he'll be up telling you where to go, what to pack for such a trip. And we also have Greg Sarnacki. He's from the Maine Outdoor Learning Center. And his focus is, he teaches all things outdoors, but his emphasis for Cabin Fever this year is going to be on land navigation. He's going to talk a little about map and compass, GPS. So when you are out there on your Allagash trip or fly fishing, you can find your way back to your vehicle.
There you go.
And we also have Tim Caverly, who is a famous, again, semi-famous author, famous in the Maine area. And he writes some great books about his time spent in and around Baxter State Park.
He's always entertaining. I've had him on this show several times.
Good. And we also have Bruce Larson of George's River Canoe, and Bruce is a canoe builder. He will actually be building a canoe at Cabin Fever Reliever, and he'll have a booth set up where you can actually watch a wooden canoe being built, and then he's going to give a talk about what goes into building a canoe. And then lastly, we have Dr. Hamish Grieg from the University of Maine, and he is a cold water fisheries biologist. If you ever want to learn about bugs, the difference between a caddisfly and a mayfly, Hamish is the guy to talk to.
I've learned more from him in half an hour about bugs than I'd learned in my entire lifetime.
Yeah, I go through his, I try to sit through his talk every time, and I just pick up a little more every time.
So it's next weekend at the Brewer Auditorium. What are the hours?
The hours on Saturday, the 25th, are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Sunday, the 26th, it's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
This schedule of actual talks is online. What is your website?
Our website is, if you go to penobscotflyfishers.com. It's all one word, penobscotflyfishers.com. And at the very top of the webpage, you will see a little tab that says Cabin Fever Reliever. And just click on that, and you will find scheduled speakers, a list of all the exhibitors, so on and so forth, times, so on and so forth. Or you can also, those of you that are on the Facebook, you can just look up Penobscot Fly Fishers on Facebook, and we have a very informative Facebook page, which I know is being updated daily because I just got through the door speaking with our chairman. So.
Yeah. Well, Paul Markson, good luck on the Cabin Fever Reliever next weekend.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for having me on.
And that's it for this week. Remember, it's high school tournament week, which means the next Saturday show will start an hour early so that we can scoot over to the Cross Insurance Center in time to start broadcasting basketball playoffs. Next weekend's episode will start at 8 a.m. both Saturday and Sunday. It'll be worth getting up early to listen. I'll be returning to the University of Maine for another look at the future. The Advanced Structures and Composite Center is making stuff out of Maine wood that you have to hear to believe. Imagine constructing a 16-story building out of Maine wood. Imagine building a bridge from materials you can carry in a sack the size of a University of Maine hockey bag. Be here. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, Doors Equipment, and EBS. We'll return next Saturday and Sunday morning at 8. This is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket.